we've gone through, what, 4 best of 3s in about 5 hours, so there have been a lot of speed runs. Peps, if you want people to sort of notice the progression that this team can make, you have to slow down this freight train that's Team Heretics that want to be winning just as hard as Na'Vi and Virtus.pro did earlier.
But we will not be slowing down, we will be speeding up. We're heading into our first game of this final best of 3, when it's a Burden T'Challa, and taking us home, it's Ryan Central and God Moxie.
There goes the Elsa. It doesn't matter which game we get to see today, Ryan. It feels like Elsa is just always catching those instant bans. It's actually going to be a split from both of these teams. Peps goes for the save onto the Gambit of a higher priority. Heretics, actually, higher priority onto the Vanguard Deadpool. And I mean, if you weigh up the previous matches, the one-sided Vanguard Deadpool did come up ahead of the one-sided Gambit. So I can see why Heretics would want to keep that in play, especially since it's domination that was starting on. First Banhammer is going to be very problematic for Peps to deal with.
Seems to be the case. So you've got like a one-sided Gambit at the very least a little bit later in the draft that they're working with. That's out of that a protect over onto the Jeff, so it does mean that like the backline is something to work with. Curious to see, speaking of which, like Team Heretics breaking Alex away from Ken just feels like you're breaking away like just one of the longest serving tenures of a strategist duo line. Oasis should fit in nicely, but it's like the most curious thing about this roster changeup. So yeah, the Jeff has been like protected. It hasn't been banned out yet, as it's looking at Peps maybe want to protect it themselves, or whether they're going to be willing to play without, as they want to make sure that they get that Deadpool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you go for the Jeff save, Heretics just instantly snap up a ban onto the Vanguard Deadpool. They're actually now going to direct that last ban onto the Star-Lord, given the fact that Peps were able to go for the first save slot onto the Gambit. So Protoss will be able to play the Gambit, but Team Peps will not have the Galactic Legend for the Raging Royal Flush to empower. As Heretics, they get both the Jeff as well as that Vanguard Deadpool. Beetle, we talked about it, we mentioned it. Captain America has always stood out when we get to see the EMEA region, so it feels like Heretics are again just like staying very true to this identity of being a dive team.
See how well that they can do here. For Heretics, it really is their first introduction into the Marvel Rivals Ignite scene. A big Spanish audience building around like one of a few Spanish players, but has been like a great face for the organization. He's debuting his first time in the coach slot, so that's enough of an interesting for Team Peps. It's whether they can sort of keep their head above board. There is a chance to really surprise a lot of people here, but it's how well that they can show up in this first game. And I mean, a Magic would be an interesting way for Enzo to start it, but I'm really not thinking that we go that far.
No, I would imagine that's going to be swapping off into the Vanguard Deadpool, which Heretics worked so hard at being able to keep off the chopping block in that draft. Frankie's going to be playing this range, so they're at least able to both read the composition that they'll be teleporting into, as well as drop into Heretics' backline, and Oasis is gone. He'll be brought back by the BRB coming on through from Alex, but Team Peps have been able to find first elimination and managed to split Heretics when it comes to trying to play for this first point control.
We've seen a lot of the teams like Na'Vi already like play it down and still able to win fights. Citadel Gaming were known for this, and it seems that they are like balancing things out despite being the first elimination. Tanuki has found himself too, playing over onto the Psylocke. See if he could go and find exactly where the counterpart is on the other side, as Pink has been shut down. Yeah, I've got like a couple of players that were on the Liquid Points team from Team Peps in previous stages. Interesting to see how they sort of do as a core, but Citadel players are winning out.
All those late eliminations, those are going to hurt. Team Peps would have been relying on something like Raging Royal Flush to be able to act as an engagement tool when they try to break through these chokes, because like Heretics, they're a dive composition that won the first fight. They're now going to be able to hold up closer. They can jump on you when your team is trying to rotate, as opposed to when you're already in a defensive position to sustain it. And Ed's just going to go first. Banhammer comes on through. Peps having to just win out the high ground lane fight so that Pink manages to see Tanuki off the follow-up. But this is still a lot of time taken off of the time for Peps to be able to move forward. At least they were able to keep Protoss alive through the Deadpool ultimate, so they can make a play with the Raging Roll Flush.
I mean, that's an overstep from Beetle. He was not afraid to get super aggressive, but veer back means that he is going to be in this engagement very soon. It's a good coordinated dive from Team Peps, just how they flooded onto the point of waterfall their way down, but they have to worry about Naga, who's up in the sky. Naga needs to be careful. He's actually low HP, needs a bit of the healing from the Jeff from distance, using the pillars for a bit of cover and a bit of a moment of respite. And Heretics able to actually hold on despite Peps having a really good coordinated front. It's just that some of the ultimates that they wanted to use, they didn't get the chance.
Yeah, I mean, Tanuki's going to be able to use Down to the Butterflies as well to force Baby Bat into having to invest her invisible boundary in a position that Peps really do not want to part with it. Oasis with the It's Jeff, Alex about to hit the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. Like, Heretics have so much staying power, since we also have to factor Beetle's Freedom Charge in as a defensive ultimate as well. Freedom Charge starts things off, puts the pressure onto Team Peps, runs over Protoss, since Baby Bat holds on to the invisible boundary, understanding that if she uses it now, Heretics just pull back and use Down to the Butterflies afterwards.
A really good push in the end. Heretics holding on to the point. Team Peps not able to get some of those coordinated picks to just work for them. Heretics able to disengage, play a player down, wait it out, and get a lot of value, I think, of Alex being on the rocket with a B right back for one. But I mean, I'm just looking at sort of this. It's weird to see some of the players on Team Heretics like in a different jersey, but it's also kind of nice to see Enzo on the Deadpool Vanguard, because we haven't seen him actually play it, because the last time we saw him was the Grand Finals.
Yeah, and he was having to play a lot of things like the Venom very early on in the Ignite 2025 seasons as well. Not super opposed as well to the way that Peps approached that last fight on the first round, because if they used Invisible Boundary, like, you're probably not going to be able to actually get onto the point in overtime cleanly. You would just burn yourself out of ultimates you can use in this next fight. So, as we talked about, that Invisible Boundary is still going to be up. 6 can combine as well with the Endsong Inferno, so that Alex and Oasis both have to be very cautious about when they invest their ultimates, as Beetle is going to go for a strange TP. Is this going to be aggressively towards Peps' location, as they seem to be doing the exact same?
Beetle versus Frankie boxing with these portal plays. It's going back to like Luminosity Gaming and Dusty in the Invitational last time these two faced each other. But the portal play not amounted to much for either side. It's a switch over to try to go in pretty much from a point A approach. Down to the Butterfly for Tanuki is available, but everybody from Team Peps playing grouped up. They have it themselves. Invisible Boundaries being forced out because of the ultimate. It might force these players to group up a little bit more, and then Jeff could just eat up whatever he can, but Tanuki off the back of it is eliminated, taken out. Pink trying to go into the back line, focusing on the Jeff as the Endsong Inferno looking to slam down, break any Yarn Amplified Alex to set up, and the Jeff ultimate grabbing a few but instantly shut down from 6th. More of a brawl from both sides, but it's looking like Team Peps might have the opening. If it wasn't for Naga coming in with the Galactic Legend. Fortunately for him, Pink 6 shoots him straight out the sky, and they're able to take the point.
Yeah, Frankie on that Strange as well, having a little bit more of a consistent shield to be able to act as cover for Peps. They're able to find the flip, and Protoss can hold on to It's Jeff as well. IMLK has the Banhammer, I'm sure, is going to be the option for that Vanguard Deadpool ultimate to put the pressure onto Team Heretics when they try to walk through, as Enzo is going to be looking to build up one of their own before they decide to full send it. Pink's been isolated actually at one of these angles, 6 playing a little bit closer to the core of the backline, making sure to be able to peel for Baby Bat when she gets pressured, and this Phoenix is doing a lot in terms of damage. Shuts down Beetle. Heretics not going to be able to make a play forward, especially given the fact that IMLK slammed the Banhammer onto the strategist line, so that Heretics just fell apart under pressure from the duelists.
Yeah, the paper mache started to brutally fall apart. Enzo going for the Banhammer here as a play. There's not really much
you have to
at all. Yeah.
If you go down, you lose your ultimate as Deadpool.
You just have to feeling like it was just a case of next option nothing. He's actually able to sort of group up into this fight. But Peps now really having to give up a lot of space because of it. Like, obviously Enzo's been able to group up with the rest of his team, but Peps have also gone away from holding this like corridor hold and disengaged completely to the point the Heretics might just walk onto the objective and take it.
I mean, Frankie's down. Baby Bat does have Invisible Boundary, but it's a reliance on Jeff ultimate first, since you know that Tanuki has the Dance of the Butterflies, and you have to hold it. But no, the pressure comes on through. Invisible Boundary comes out from the side of Team Peps, and I mean, Heretics, they're just going to play outside of it. They're going to wait for it to be done, and then come through with Cosmic Yarn Amplifier to sweep the eliminations, and still have Dance of the Butterflies for the fight that happens after.
And Song being held out. Is 6 going to use it to try and go in or disengage? It's broken nonetheless. That these trying to escape, but Beetle's chasing him down to make sure that they stall out this fight just a little bit more. Team Peps on these disengages have been punished, and more time is being bought up from Heretics. The good news for Peps, though, is that you are 90% on the point. You have a little bit of a window to build up some of these ultimates, and Pink has just got the Dance of the Butterflies online.
I mean, the bad news, though, is the amount of ultimates that Heretics are going to have access to. If you're Team Peps, like, ideally, you want to just force as many ultimates from the side of your opponent as possible before they hit last fight territory and win the overtime fight. Tanuki comes on through of Dance with the Butterflies, punishing the fact that Peps are totally lacking strategists and having to rely instead on stacking their players to absorb that damage. They still lose the Jeff as well, and losing that Jeff means losing those healing bubbles to have the speed boost to disengage easily. Team Heretics, they're just pushing for more. Beetle uses the Freedom Charge. Full sends it towards Peps' own spawn.
I mean, if there's a team to full send it with, it's the likes of like Enzo to be able to play off of. Naga also does have the Galactic Legend. If there is a bit more of a fight back, Enzo built up the Banhammer, using it again. Like, again, he's not really that afraid to use the ultimates as they build them up. Instead of allocating them and trying to group them together, it's just if you get it, send it as much as you possibly can. You've got Oasis that's sat back with the It's Jeff if it is required, but Team Peps also having to use their own Banhammer on cooldown now, able to not get too much. It's more of a scrappy engagement as Heaven's Retribution has brought the fight to the ground, but Naga up in the sky has grabbed things into the air. See if he can go for the duel as the Angela has tried to really distort him as much as possible, as it's going to be an It's Jeff used on the other side. 4 people pulled off from Protoss as the point is being actually flipped over for Peps.
Wait, that's huge. Protoss gets the edge. Jeff, absolutely massive clutch. 6 is going to be able to form the portal, and Team Peps are back onto the point. Team Heretics, do they get an opportunity? Like, they're sending Oasis and Alex to stall for Enzo to get the portal through. But I mean, Frankie boxing on the Angela might just be able to body block it if it even comes in time. And no, Team Peps are able to clutch it out. Protoss, what a play. We go the distance. We go to Warrior Falls.
It was up on the high ground as well, right? That was the second It's Jeff ultimate that we saw that was like a little bit elevated, and it really did seem to catch Heretics by surprise.
Heretics had such a good game plan too. Like, there's method in the madness for why they're taking the fights in so many different locations. It means that Baby Bat, like Invisible Woman, the healing, you generate your ultimate so quickly off of the pierce nature of your primary, right? So if everyone stacks up in one lane, you'll have Invisible Boundary up easily. Team Heretics were relying on taking Baby Bat down and popping Galactic Legend before Invisible Boundary could be built on the side of Team Peps. When we went into that overtime fight, lo and behold, Galactic Legend comes through. Baby Bat doesn't have ultimate, and it's up to Protoss to be able to save the day.
Lovely stuff. Protoss was a sub on this team because it was going to be Baby Bat and Ken that were the backline. They played on Vice together in stage 2 of last year, but it is like a very recent like change up. This backline is working together considering that it seems to be a fairly recent switch up. So Heretics, it's gone to a third point. Method to the madness, as you sort of mentioned. I mean, this team is like the nutty professor with how they want to take these engagements, and you have to look at Enzo to be the one that leads the line. It is him almost pulled off of the map. The Angela almost got him. He dived back in, and the Wolverine has a go. As Pink is actually sending him to the abyss. The Beer Back's going to bring him all the way into the engagement. But that Banhammer that he might have been able to farm up first, he has no chance.
Yeah, but Team Heretics still have all of the map space, because while all of that focus from the front line was onto Enzo, Beetle and Tanuki were flanking, taking the off angle and putting the pressure onto the back line to force the Invisible Boundary. Team Peps are able to keep themselves alive, however, and they do take Enzo out. This time, it sticks. Third time is indeed the charm, but Team Peps, unfortunately, not going to be able to open up with first point control. That goes the way of Team Heretics, and now the problems start. If you're trying to stop the dive composition, well, Tanuki's already got down to the butterflies, and you don't even have to pressure Invis Boundary out first. You can full send the Psylocke ultimate knowing it will find value.
And even if it doesn't, you've got a Galactic Legend that is more than likely going to follow up very quickly afterwards. Freedom Charge might be the one thing that actually sends and catapults themselves into the backline if they want. But Tanuki content to take the first pick. Baby Bat is the one that goes down, and Naga is able to go for the resets, even to the point that we actually seen Pink jump off the map to go for a quick reset to not allocate any more ult charge towards the team that holds the point.
Not just that, but point percentage as well. Like, this dive composition with how quickly Team Heretics can just very quickly rotate and shape where they're pushing from, there's going to be a lot of fights that Team Peps have to be able to get through, which means a lot of point percentage taken away from them. As, ooh, it's a sneaky Galactic Legend play. It looks like Frankie Boxing can still potentially intercept it, as Beetle actually goes on through of the Freedom Charge. Protoss gets a huge eat yet again onto 2, but I mean, the pressure from the Galactic Legend shreds the Jeff's health down.
Enzo finds himself 2 picks as well. Banhammer is going to be the thing that clears up this fight. As Peps losing out on numbers, going to be pulled off of the map. Like, Pink is going to have to just reset. Frankie Boxing is also going to go down. More time stalled, and you're right, like, there's 25% left, and there has to be a little bit of posturing for Team Peps. Is there going to be any, like, comp changes so far, especially after ultimates were used? Seems like they're just sticking to it.
I mean, Frankie Boxing has Heaven's Retribution, but you're also on the Angela. You have to be able to get past Team Heretics' body block and get onto the objective itself. Heaven's Retribution tries to hit, punishing Team Heretics, getting aggressive and trying to dive the back line, hitting the high ground before Team Peps can drop off onto the low ground and start sweeping away that point control. They've been able to get onto the point, but so far no eliminations. And Team Heretics yet again are just splitting the fight into separate locations. Now it's overtime. Team Peps lose the opportunity to peel for the backline.
Enzo pulled off of the map again from Pink. But Naga is, like, the way he's moving around the map, just disengaging. It seems that anytime he's a focus, he's out of the fight and then subtly finds his way back into the fray. So now Heretics have a good position to be holding on to. Peps looking to actually take the control of the point for the first time so far over on this battleground, but Tanuki in the backline has found himself 6. You got a Yan Amplifier that's going to increase some of the damage that's thrown out from Heretics. Now they can be a lot more selective. It's Jeff from Protoss going to be used. Not quite going to be able to grab onto 4 at this point, but a Galactic Legend has been built up so quickly from Naga that he's able to keep pace at it. He finds himself 2. Peps have found control of the objective, but it is going to be a quick switch around. Team Peps, Portal has to come in from 6. There's no over ultimates that is going to be at hand to work with. And Enzo now, Banhammer, surely just finds the targets as they make their way onto the objective. Beetle can keep this fight sustained for them in favor with the Freedom Charge. And because it's back in favor of Heretics, it's not like it's still chipping forward for Peps.
Team Heretics as well, they just invade the backline, baby. That falls. Now you're relying solely on jet heals. So the moment Protoss has to go for the reload, players from Peps will fall. It is inevitable. As is the round ending in the favor for Team Heretics at that point. A stumble on Stellar Spaceport off of the map quite literally, but pulling it back with Warrior Falls.
And a good showing, I suppose, of the new fresh-faced players, I suppose, in the Team Heretics jersey. But most certainly I was going to mention Naga anyway. Like, him coming over from Na'Vi into this team, the way that he's able to just sort of play that more, like, sort of hit-scan character, allowing Tanuki to be on the more, like, flexible roles, playing some of the more, like, melee-centric characters. Naga was so good at just when he wanted to use those ultimates, how easily he played off all of the other players. And quite rightly, a good MVP to be giving him on his first showing in Team Heretics.
I mean, Team Heretics just had such a good idea of space. Like, even that first fight on Stellar Spaceport, where it looks a little bit weird, right? Why are both teams trying to go for a strange teleport play? Well, Team Peps, it makes more sense for them to go for a strange teleport play because they have invisible boundary. They want to port onto the point so they can use it as a fortress for the invisible boundary to claw up their first point control, as well as be able to play that backline beneath the point so that Team Heretics have a little bit of a harder time diving. So what the Heretics decide to do? Well, they portal first, and they actually interrupt Peps being able to get the portal cast off. So when we see the invisible boundary cast from Baby Bat, again, it's off of the objective and into a position where Team Heretics can disengage it and make sure that their backline are the ones with first point control, and they can play that fight as long as they want.
I just want to say just how much we seem to be sticking in with the theme of a little bit of old and a little bit of new, some nostalgia and some new experimental stuff, because when was the last time we saw some players from Citadel playing Jeff, Psylocke, and Captain America. It's
True.
a pretty consistent, but it's with different players. It's the evolution. Everything it's all a little bit the same, a little bit new, and it's delightful to see. Also delightful to see that Jeff Heat on Stellar Spaceport. Really a game changer, but the fact is they won because of that play, but they were keeping in that fight, building up enough charge for that to matter, and that's a really good sign for Team Peps that they are currently able to at least compete with Team Heretics in that first map, meaning that we still have some solid potential as we get ready for map number 2. We're going to head to a break so those players can get set up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Sacrilege reigns here in Ignite as Heretics take the first map in our best of 3, our final one of the day. But it wasn't easy. Team Peps actually taking the second point on our first domination map, thanks to an incredible Jeff Eat. But can they bring it that little bit further? Not just taking a round, but taking a whole map on our next map. It's going to be the Museum of Contemplation. Moxie, what do they need to do?
I mean, if you're going Museum of Contemplation, right away you have to be ready for dive. Like, teams on the attack especially are going to be looking to split your attention and force you to give up a whole lot of space so that you lose control of corner cover and you have to take a fight on a long open line of sight. So I think for Team Peps, draft line is going to be very important to just take away some of the win conditions that Team Heretics were able to do. Like, honestly, if the Star-Lord makes it through, going for a rocket ban might actually be a good idea, just so you can try to take away some of the mobility of that duelist, plus the potential of the BRB.
I do think as well, like Alex was just worth highlighting because it was one elimination against them playing the Rocket. And I think that we sort of mentioned characters that have provided a lot of value in stocks today. I think Rocket is being omitted from that list completely. It seems that those teams that can really make him work are feasting right now. And I think that that can often be overlooked. Most certainly because the focus is going to be on Jeff, I would assume. It really feels that Rocket plays into that so well that he often needs a bit more attention.
I mean, let's talk about the Rocket for a moment. Just what he has, all these tools. Really solid AoE healing for his team, especially if they are diving. He can just ping the balls away from a pretty solid distance. Damage output, not really too relevant unless you're getting into like melee range in terms of if you can just land all the headshots from the main primary. But the damage boost from the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, extremely valuable because more damage means more ult charge while getting that bonus health. And of course, the most important factor, Battle Rebirth Beacon. It gives you so much value heading on in here. So I completely agree. I love you bringing that up, Brian, to the fact that the Rocket is a little bit, we haven't mentioned it as much, and it does deserve being brought up. But also being brought up, Deadpool is still getting prioritized very high by a lot of these teams. Do you think we'll see it adjusted in this match, Moxie?
The problem is, if you go for a ban on Vanguard Deadpool, it has to come at the start of the draft, which means that you let the Elsa through instead. And I don't know if you want to allow Team Heretics access to one of the strongest characters in the whole game, especially when you're going into Museum of Contemplation, where there are so many opportunities for that Elsa to find eliminations just from absolutely anywhere.
Speaking of opportunities, this is Team Peps' last opportunity because this could be the final map of the day if Heretics are able to take it. Let's find out what happens as we're heading into Museum of Contemplation for map number 2 of Heretics versus Peps. Take it away.
One of the things to highlight too when we're going over to Convoy, Moxie, is the players from Citadel Gaming. Citadel Gaming was known as being the connoisseurs of Convoy. They were very good at this game mode. You don't have Sharknado anymore that they can't rely on as such, but seeing them play on the most recent Convoy map is going to be interesting to see if it's a similar approach or whether the meta or even like just team roles are going to change it.
Ooh, okay, so Peps are going to continue going with like this Gambit line as we get Team Heretics considering no surprises, I'm sure, to anyone with that first lock slot going out onto the Vanguard Deadpool. And like, that's what I talked about, right? If you go for the ban on Vanguard Deadpool, it has to come at the start of the draft as opposed to halfway or at the end of it, which means that you would give them Elsa. And it seems like Peps are just entirely avoiding that particular topic, as both of these teams actually are going to be removing the Daredevil from play, and I think that's like a really good ban coming out, especially onto Museum of Contemplation, where we see so many times those flanking Daredevils just getting past and causing so much chaos in backlines.
The Gambit is going to be banned out on one side, so it's going to be one-sided in favor of Peps, but a Loki is also being banned out from Team Heretics as they're looking to protect the Mantis. So they're still like hovering this Deadpool Vanguard. They're just like, we're going to protect it to make sure that we can have it. Probably going to ban it out last, I would assume. So for here, it's like Peps, okay, what do we want to take out at the same time? Like, do we want to make sure that they don't get Loki? It's going to be the case that there's a lot of like double bans coming through. Whether or not they actually protect the Deadpool Vanguard themselves here is interesting.
Yeah, it could be a Star-Lord, it could be a Deadpool Vanguard. Let's have a look and see that Loki from the side of Team Heretics is absolutely in response to the Gambit save coming through from Peps, because you don't allow those two strategists to be able to come through. No matter which side that you're playing, 2 casts of Raging Royal Flush just allows you far too much control on an ultimate economy when ultimates have become much higher value off of how long it takes for them to accrue now. As we actually get a save onto the Invisible Woman, Team Heretics, they could, if they want to, go for a ban onto Vanguard Deadpool, but since Team Peps haven't played it so far, it looks like it's actually going to be an attention brought out onto the Star-Lord instead. So Gambit does not get to pair the ultimate with the Star-Lord. Plus, if we do get to see a Star-Lord versus Rocket come through from the side of Team Heretics, they'll have far much more mobility. Team Peps would just be running the Rocket for things like the BRB as opposed to giving the Star-Lord extra iframe.
A lot of like individual like bans taken out, like both the Elsa, both the Daredevil, the Loki is the same, but like Gambit is going to be one-sided for Peps, as well as like having the Star-Lord for Team Heretics. I think that's the only thing that is going to be one-sided for them. Interesting how the draft went. Instead of like, we're going to ban this and protect the same character, we're going to just try to like, we're going to protect this. We're not even going to use a ban to make it one-sided. We just want to make sure that we get a hold of it.
Well, Team Heretics will be starting off on the defense. No free this time. It's going to be a triple strategist line with one hyper carry Tanuki on the Psylocke. And I mean, Oasis on this Jeff as well, something to talk about with Museum of Contemplation, especially around that first corner. It's so good for Jeff healing. Like, you're going to be able to keep everyone alive while also making sure that Oasis is super far away from any threat that Peps can output.
So now, Team Peps, they chose one of the latest maps to be added in. We have not going to see the most recent one that's coming in the middle of the season for preseason yet, so it's going to be whether you can make some history over in the Museum of Contemplation. You got IMLK going in with the Groot to see if they can sort of isolate some of these fights, but perfect positioning of where this dive could just really harass you as you get past this first corner.
IMLK as well on that Groot. It's actually going to be pretty problematic for Heretics to have to deal with, given the fact that the Groot Wall can actually block off the LOS of the Jet heal. So Team Heretics, playing as split as they've been right now, has actually been punished. Beetle has fallen since the backline weren't in position to care for him. And now when we break into fights in a more open space, 6 on that Phoenix can be really problematic, which is why we're seeing Tanuki have to step up to the plate and try and keep the duelist occupied. Looking now for that Groot, farming up the ultimate off of just damaging the Vanguard, so that Team Heretics get an opportunity to come backward down to the butterflies to force some visible boundary.
Just as Beetle was about to like maybe get his ultimate off 85% before he went down and it got reset. Meteor M, it's a very early one from Enzo, going to be used as the Royal Flush comes through. Not able to get an elimination, block some of the damage at the very least, but there's still more to come in from Team Peps, who are actually making good headway on this so far. The dive is going to be good enough to force out the invisible boundary on the other side. Peps take a moment to try to regroup themselves, and then the forward offense is going to happen right just before this first checkpoint. Team Heretics are a little bit of free fall at the moment as they're staggering players one after the other. Beetle is finally able to get the banhammer off to stall out things for the time being, but there's no move over towards a Strange just yet. The numbers from Heretics are there, but they're just losing them one at a time. A really well played first point on this is Tanuki's actually going to be forced out to use the Dance of the Butterfly, but there's so many players from Team Peps grouped up together. It really was just a case of Enzo being able to stall it out. Frankie Boxing's even going to go through the portal to try and fight this to push it back, and first point is taken. Really well played from Peps.
Yeah, Dance of the Butterflies as well from Tanuki, which means he's not counted as contesting the objective. So Peps are able to use Invisible Boundary, live the Psylocke ultimate, and pick up the checkpoint all in one go. Ooh, that was a risk. Alex with the Force Physics almost grabbing Team Peps a little bit too far forward, but it's the Vanguards who were caught, not squishy, so they'll be able to stabilize as we get now Team Heretics moving Alex over to the Invisible Woman instead. Oasis should probably get targeted by the Meteor, and the moment that it's Jeff ends as 6 actually catches Tanuki, and Team Heretics are lacking a duelist, which opens the floodgates for Team Peps to get aggressive.
The leap in comes through as there's another Royal Flush. Protoss is built up so quick. In fact, this gravy train is still going for Peps, and they're making so much progress happen. There was a fight for Team Heretics to stall it out for a brief stint, but Team Peps not only able to win out the fight here, but getting past one of the most like annoying, irritating parts of the map to actually get through, which is just up this like the steep end, I suppose, of like second point, able to get through without any contest as Heretics have to regroup.
I mean, Beetle's going to actually swap over to the Captain America just to go onto the point and try and stall it out, allowing the rest of the team a little bit more freedom to be able to walk away from these separate lanes. Enzo's going to be a problem that Team Peps have to clear out, given how close he is to that banhammer, as Tanuki goes to show what exactly happens to a Groot who is just firewood in the 1v1 against that Psylocke. As Team Peps, the moment Team Heretics went for the swaps, they lost control of the map space, and now we actually have double duelists as opposed to Tanuki relying solely on things like the Mantis damage boost to keep Heretics in play. They're going to be able to have a lot more of a higher stake in holding the space permanently.
And Pink has switched over towards the Nemo as well. So, like, actual fast changes. Like, Peps are keeping pace with this. Like, they're not just going, oh, this is the way that we want to play it and it's do or die. It really is that they're going to try and adjust as things happen. Unfortunately, however, they lose Pink. Now it's going to come down with the end. So Inferno is able to catch two. So Peps having to try and regroup, not stall this out too much. And Heretics not only gaining control of the objective, they have so many ultimates in the back pocket to sit back on.
Yeah, great funneling. Beetle very much calling out the rotation from Peps when they try and take those staircases. Naga knowing that he can go for that Endsong Inferno, have the greater summon health as well as that low ceiling, meaning that Peps just weren't able to burn through the summon before it hit the ground. And now Heretics, they just continue disrupting the walk-up. Banhammer comes on through from Enzo. They hit onto the backline from both Beetle and Tanuki, and Team Peps just disintegrate beneath the focus fire coming on through from Team Heretics' side.
And Peps, all of that like momentum that they were able to sort of build off has kind of dissipated for the time being. Even like building up towards the ultimates, it was Pink switched over 90 seconds ago, still like 70% on the way of having a Horn of Proteus. There's so much to still be ready to work with, but it has to be in quick succession. There's the thing that's going to start it off with the fastball to go in with the Gambit ultimate. Invisible Boundary is going to be used as Royal Flush was the thing that started it. Dance of the Butterfly is now going to be used as a response as Endsong now from 6th. Looking to see if he can clean up anybody else after the Meteor. M from Frankie actually finds himself too. Seems that everybody's now going to go down for Heretics, but Freedom Charge and it's Jeff stalling for a little bit more time as there's only 1 minute left for Peps. Don't think there's going to be a portal available for Heretics now after they used it on first, but they might just have enough of a way to actually fight this right before the end of second.
I mean, Oasis on the Jeff with the healing bubble should be able to give the speed boost for Team Heretics to get one touch on, and they are devastatingly close to an Endsong Inferno. Pink does have the Horn of Proteus, might be able to catch out that Phoenix before the ultimate comes on first. IMLK does hit the Banhammer, and it looks like it's onto Oasis as the Jeff just instantly falls. Enzo returns the favor. Slowly, the payload is pushing a little bit closer, but like you said, they are getting pulled off of the point. Oasis sees an opportunity, goes for the setup of the Strange TP to get Team Heretics back through the door as Endsong can stall out this fight just a little bit more. There's the activation of it. Can Team Heretics make it through the portal?
Oh, it's a real touch at the end here for Peps. You've got Beetle has done so well to actually stall out this objective, and a lot of pictures being taken from IMLK, but not able to actually get towards the end of it. Peps went for the portal. It was just a second too late, and it's just before second that the point is going to finish for them.
Oof, good hold from Team Heretics. Very good adaptation. Like, they got a little bit steamrolled by the composition of Team Peps on first, and then just like instantly pivoted when, okay, the Mantis with the solo Psylocke is not working. Yes, we've got one-sided damage boost, but our Psylocke's just not getting space to do anything. She's not getting to take the 1v1s. She's not getting to punch through the strategists and squishies. Let's just go for the Phoenix alongside the Psylocke so we can split our core. We can have Tanuki on the Psylocke, dive with Beetle, and then that draws the attention to having to deal with the Captain America, with the Psylocke. When they slow things down, the Phoenix's real estate just picks up so much more value, uncontested and getting to shoot from far.
I've seen nice moments from like Peps. I mean, there was the point where like Heretics won the fight in second. I was like, okay, I've got a moment to clean my glasses, and then halfway through that, like Heretics had already like lost the fight. Team Peps had went in. I was like, wait, what's going on? I just see the blur of like the Peps like red color that they're playing in just envelop what Team Heretics were doing on the objective. But I guess this is like a real test for them. It's a new team for Team Peps. They're trying to go for like the triple Vanguard, triple strategist. A couple of good fights here would work. You are playing around this like Adam as well. If this goes wrong, it's very much Team Heretics taking this all the way to the end.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't really a full hold composition. It's more a case of just get as much time off the bank as you possibly can. The first fight especially, you do have that one-sided soul bond coming through from the Adam. Pink can put a lot of pressure too when the fighting moves around corner and opens out into those longer stretches, which is why you can see Team Peps kiting. They don't want to actually take the fight in Team Heretics' face. They want to force them into having to play the lane that Pink can continue to spam.
Yeah, just making Heretics overstep their boundaries here. But it's a mechanics check for Team Peps to get the most out of this composition. Certainly with ultimates costing a little bit more time and effort from the strategists, you've already lost one of those vanguards. IMLK is going to be taken out in the process. Going to be back in the fight fairly soon, but it's how much Heretics can actually put the pressure onto this backline as Tanuki finds himself a second and is looking to hunt down a third. But Adam Warlock, he's trying to fly away. He can't fly fast enough. Life Cocoon means that he's going to have a chance to reset, but I imagine it's just pretty much back to spawn. That's how far they've been forced away from Heretics.
Yeah, you don't burn Life Cocoon. You're going to be setting up for a Strange TP. You're so close to Karmic Revival. If you're the Adam, you absolutely do not want to use your self-res now. Oasis gets picked by the spam damage coming on through once that portal opens up. So Team Heretics have actually lost the Jeff, so no symbiotic shenanigans to be able to stave off the damage coming on through from Team Peps when they decide to walk on forward with the one-sided Raging Roll Flush. I don't think they even need it. They're just sweeping through the dive splits. Feast of the Abyss does come through from Enzo, forcing Protoss actually into having to invest that Gambit ultimate, which Team Heretics more than happy to fight into, given the fact that they have Invisible Boundary. Baby Bat's at least got later cast though, Ryan, so Team Peps, they might be able to out-sustain Invisible Boundary forced by Dance of the Butterflies, but for afterwards, they should have Karmic Revival. Unfortunately for Team Peps, they've lost the player that they need. Pink is down.
And he didn't have the Life Cocoon either. That was used up in the process. But Tanuki was a really good Dance of the Butterflies just past the back of the Invisible Boundary, able to get Protoss and the rest of the team able to survive. Counter Revival able to at least bring back a couple, but they're not going to be able to touch, or at least it's going to be incredibly close as they're being forced back. This choke has been held by one Vanguard, might I add, which is Enzo, because Beetle switched over to the Wolverine. They body blocked their way through. The checkpoint has been hit, and Team Heretics still have things moving forward with 4 minutes left. Team Peps went to play for it. You might as well. I imagine they're going to switch off of the Adam now and change up. There it is, to the Namor and then the Jean Grey. But there, it was just a second too late.
I mean, IMLK also going on to the Hulk as well, coming on through from the side of Team Pep. So looking to counter dive into Team Heretics' own backline, try and put a little bit more pressure onto Alex. Beetle with that last stand, though, is going to be problematic for the Strange and the Hulk potentially to have to deal with, as we can see. Six is the one that falls first off of the back of the damage coming on from afar with that Phoenix pressure, and that frees Tanuki up to take a lane on right side too. Team Peps are about to get pinched.
So you just switching to various players from Team Heretics, and they're all just taking their own engagements. It is high octane to potentially end the day, as there's only a couple meters left to top off what EMEA Day 1 has given for Ignite. Invisible Boundary is going to try and hold on. We do have the Ivagomoto used, and it connects onto the Vanguard front line of Team Heretics, but it is actually just Tanuki that goes down from the Dance of the Butterflies on the other side. In fact, Enzo's able to use the Feast of the Abyss to get a pick, and Naga taking his own 1v1 to try to take out Pink in the sort of space behind where this objective is. Its Jeff is going to be used as well as an Invisible Boundary, and Oasis seeing if there's a chance to try to survive as everything's going on. This is just balls to the wall, crazy Moxie in this fight. Everybody's having their own little scrap, but Heretics seem to be coming out on top for the most part.
I mean, you say that, but Team Peps actually deal with the Phoenix. Enzo is taken so low he has to back out to get stabilized by his strategists. Pink has N-Song as well, as we can see Beetle actually going to be swapping over to the Captain America, as we've got 2 minutes left, so Team Heretics can afford to buy a little bit of time to build up the ult bank, but they've lost Oasis, and it looks like they actually just want to go for it now. N-Song Inferno comes out for the Phoenix health reset, but unfortunately, you haven't cleared off Pink, who gets the Invisible Woman Guardian Shield to hold the lane, and gets the better of his mirror, and Team Peps are actually making this hold a little bit more stable now.
Yeah, it's more of a job for Naga. We saw him before just trying to keep track of where Pink is playing from on the Jean Grey on the other side, but Naga's focus was more on the team fight that was away from the action. Pink giving some space, making sure that he's putting out some of the damage in the process, but he does have the end song available. Protoss finds that first pick because IMLK is looking to see if he can dive, make sure that like Enzo's going to be punished a little bit more, as there's going to be 2 Vanguards now back in the hands of Heretics. And now look at this dive. All of these players in quick succession trying to go all the way around. Is Peps going to be there to try and adjust to it? In fact, the Hulk is going to try and block it off. Frankie is holding on for hope as the Royal Flush is going to allow that offensive capability. And Six is doing really well to make sure that Heretics' coordination is stunted. There's only a minute left.
I love this. Team Peps scouted out that Team Heretics were trying to get all the way around the back and go aggressive before Baby Bat gets invisible boundary. They just go first. Protoss uses the Raging Roll Flush, and Team Peps with the greatest speed boost get on top of Team Heretics. That being said, you've delayed the problem. You haven't solved it, right? Beetle with the Freedom Charge is going to give Team Heretics the in. Tanuki can come through with the eliminations before Baby Bat has her ultimate. You have to rely on Eye of Agamotto shutting these players down before they can make the play. It leads into the Endsong Inferno. Like you said, it hits 2. And Team Heretics, they don't want to commit to this fight. Worse, they have to, though. It's overtime. Oasis has to go through with the It's. Jeff, Team Peps are down to 3 players remaining, though, as Team Heretics are clutching it out with the players actually on the point. They're pulling the players off of the defensive team, and no one is going to be able to keep the objective in play long enough for Peps to man a portal recontest. It came down to the wire, but Team Heretics built up the ultimate bank and eventually cash out.
Harder than you'd sort of expect, especially with how their defense went. It looked very much on the precipice for Peps to actually take a map and bring us to a third, but it's all 2-0 today. You gotta say, Museum of Contemplation, I don't know why it's called that, because that map doesn't give you any chance to think. It's so fast in how these teams are playing, but really impressive that Peps were able to keep up with Team Heretics that were playing at a pace that nobody else was really, it was almost too fast for Heretics, a white knuckle ride for them to actually keep things going. But it's more with a little bit of adjustments here or there and a bit of a polish. This is a scary team in a scary manner.
It's a lot of potential. It's for sure a lot of potential. Really excited as well to see what moving ahead Peps are going to be looking like. Protoss was really impressing on the Jeff earlier on the first round, but also on the Gambit here, building up the Raging Roll Flushes as quickly as he was, especially when we're talking about the ult generation for strategists especially, has been hit so heavily. And Team Heretics were looking to apply that pressures, going into the backline, trying to find those eliminations. Although I won't lie, it did sort of trickle into a lot of Phoenix 1v1s and just the duelists both trying to beat out the other in terms of controlling those lanes, which allowed the strategists a little bit more freedom and sense of safety.
What a showing by both of these teams. A huge showing for Peps in particular. Yes, they go away from this without a map win, but the fact is they made Heretics work every single inch for it, and that is fantastic news for the Peps fans out there, because that was very impressive. Big shout out, especially, you were mentioning it earlier, the Phoenix duels between the 2 Phoenix players for these teams. Really nicely done. The fact that Peps came out ahead multiple times there. Frankie Boxing did well. Protoss showing off the Jeff Eats earlier and then adjusting now into the Gambit, having a lovely game. And Taro Adun indeed. Overall, just a really great showing for Peps. But Heretics, it's what we were hoping to see from a load of ex-Citadel players, now with new players jumping on in to really show up. And in particular, Tanuki went 20-7 on that Psylocke. Just had an absolute belter of a series. So now, before we get into potential interviews, we've got to ask, Ryan, Moxie, how are you feeling about your prediction orders?
Ooh, I'll let Moxie go first.
Oh, is this because I have Heretics higher than Shikigami? I think
so. Yeah.
I'm still happy. Like I said, when I looked at those predictions, everyone in Group A, I was like, it feels like this can go anywhere. For the top 3, it can be any potential order. I feel especially today, we're going to be seeing a lot of teams having adjusted into what the meta is starting to form into. Not fully stabilize, but definitely starting to form into. I would imagine we're going to be seeing a lot more Vanguard Deadpool getting targeted early on, which then means that we could be moving away from Vanguard Deadpools being the clutch factor of compositions, and we're getting to see Elsa Bloodstone make her way in, especially when we see the health bar get tanked a little bit.
I think my prediction, but I still have Shikigami. If Shikigami played Heretics today, I think Shikigami would win, because Heretics, there's a lot of caliber on this team, there's a lot of coordination, but it's a new team. There has to be some adjustments, getting used to playing with each other, and how you adjust to a team like Shikigami that's played for a few months already, remains to be seen. But the good news for Heretics is you get these kind of games that are definitely winnable for them. They can show their issues. Lion Pro, the coach, can go over and make sure that they smooth up some of those inconsistencies. So by the time that you play Navi and Shikigami, you're a lot more prepared. And I think those series are certainly going to be the most defining because there's so much innate talent on this Heretics roster. It's just time and whether they can keep building upon it.
Time and building, we will have to see when those two teams play against each other. I'm very much in the agreement of Moxie of that top three, especially like a lot of people are expecting Na'Vi to come out of the group ahead just due to previous pedigree. But Heretics and Shikigami, these are great showings for both of these teams. We didn't know going into this which one would be ahead, and we still aren't sure, and that's the delight of today's games and how fun they have been. We've had 2-0s across the board, and yet a lot of those games were close, and it's delightful to see that. Looks like we are going to have an interview. It is with Enzo, so we'll be jumping into that when that is ready. But overall, let's have a quick question. What were, starting with Ryan, as you made Moxie go first last time, what was your favorite series of the day?
Ooh, I think the Reason Vision one, because it was just like blew our expectations out of the water. It had a lot of like moments to certainly highlight, but I think it's like, I did expect there to be some teams that like, this team is just objectively better than the other. It's a quick 2-0, but there have been a lot of like crown fall, Peps hit. I'm like, there's promise here. It's just whether they can like build upon it and not just be like, oh, we lost the first series, morale is down. There's a chance for some of these teams that didn't look great today, or at least not able to get on the board with a win, can actually build themselves up to be top contenders for not only the end of preseason, but for stage 1 for sure.
Moxie, the same question, of course, to you. What stood out for you today?
I mean, Virtus.pro getting to see them step away from the dive composition, which Finzi actually said himself they wanted to move away from being a solely dive focus team, was an absolute treat, as was getting to see the potential of the teams that we were talking about, right? Like, Vision looking really, really strong and defying a lot of expectations. Like, I was worried about them moving from MLC into Ignite purely off of the compositions that they played in the past. I was like, they played anchor compositions, but not so much dive compositions. How are they going to adjust? And they were able to adjust really well against that. Crimefall 2 having a lot of potential, being able to pull fights against Virtus.pro, well, not maps, but still keep it competitive, I think, puts a lot of potential that we get to see in the team, and same thing with Peps.
And to round it out, I will say that my favorite was probably the Shikigami Pulsar game. We got to see just how good Shikigami are right now, which is terrifying for the other teams. While Pulsar showed some lovely moments of brilliance, I still really enjoy the Angela versus Wolverine, who goes in the whole fights to just see who could take each other into the pit on Arako. Absolutely delightful. Always fun to see that. Overall, though, it was a very solid day of games, and we have 2 more days this week coming up for you. We still have more games coming up tomorrow. We have Fire versus Rad, Na'Vi Shiki. We'll jump into that more when we get to it. And of course, the Americas start this week as well. This is going to be a delightful preseason. I hope you're all extremely as excited as we are. And of course, Pacific starting soon. It's just a good time to be a Rivals esports fan.
And it's easy to follow along as well. I think like it's like if you didn't watch much of last year, that's fine. Also, I'm excited for all of the stats are about to get in game as well. Yes. So we can actually start to follow on exactly how like impactful these players are, because that often does get omitted. Like you have to sort of work it out, like usually by like 10 minutes, how many final hits, how much damage. But we might really start to see some players shine a lot more when we actually look at statistically how much they're providing and the impact that they have. Especially newer players that like might not look amazing for preseason stage 1. There's definitely going to be some of them that are going to look elite talent in stage 2.
Speaking of elite talent, you might have seen many teams play today that you very much enjoyed. Right now, if you go play in Rivals, you can just unlock some sprays for some of your favorite teams, including the qualifier and the guest teams. You can just unlock them by playing in Marvel Rivals. But if you want to go that extra mile, we do have those partner team skins for Deadpool available. So if you liked the look of Virtus.pro or Na'Vi today, or Heretics, then you can jump on in and get yourself those team bundles. Represent your favorite in the Vanguard Deadpool, who is extremely relevant right now, so make sure you get your reps in on that, and rep your favorite team in the process. But speaking of our partner team, speaking of Heretics, we have our interview. Please welcome from Team Heretics, Enzo. And what a showing for today. For starters, it's very good to have you back, Enzo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm back once again. The big dog is back.
In the same room as well, with a different poster.
We love to see it. I'm going to open it up with the immediate elephant in the room. different roster for you this time. You've got a main like stables group that's staying together, but you've got a couple new players coming in here for this stage. How has that adjustment stage been for you?
Basically, after the season, a lot of players went to NA, and a lot of roster had to change. So I looked at the option. I saw Naga wasn't a part of Navi anymore. I was like, yeah, I want that guy. I always wanted to play with him. He's like such a great human, such a great player. He brings the vibes. It's just so good to play with him. Then we looked at the tank, and we saw that Beetle had the amazing season with Chop, and I was like, yeah, I want this guy as well. He's by far the best option we have. And then afterwards, like I looked at the support. I didn't really like any of them, like any of the good like support. So I say that let's pick a rookie. Let's pick someone that didn't have a chance to play with a good team, and let's see what he can do. And at the beginning it was kind of rough because he had to play Jeff, and he didn't really knew how to play Jeff. But this guy is a grinder. He's basically like the first guy I pick in my team that plays the game more than I do. So he just picked up the character, played over and over, 100 hours. And now he's finally, I think he's good on it. He had a little bit of I kinda fucked up something. Oh wait, man, don't say that word. He spit me into the Jeff ult. He spit like 3 of us into the Jeff ult, but outside of that, that's clean.
Okay, well, that's the players ticked off. Talk to us a little bit about the stuff behind the scenes, because we've talked about, Lime Pro now moving over from being a player and moving into a coaching position. Was that something that you as a player made the decision to bring onto? Has it been working with him?
I don't think there's like a best coach. I think there's just a coach that works the best to your team. And we tried a couple one, and Line Pro was the one that was fitting the most our team. So we just say, yeah, let's go, let's run it.
I think because it is like mostly you Citadel guys with like the cherry-picked players like you mentioned, what is like preparation for this tournament been like? Like how long have you been scrimming? How are scrims going realistically? Like what are the things that like you need to catch up on? Or was it pretty much just the team played really well and scrims have just been going amazingly and it's just a case of keeping that momentum going, right? Like, or has there been some like, we need to work out how to play the new meta, for example?
The beginning was kind of rough because it's the first time that there's like so many like players going through different teams. So when you're making a new team, we all learn the game a different way. So like a comp that we're gonna play, I'm gonna have like us three, Tanuki, Alex, and me. We're gonna think about one way, but the three others learn the game a different way. So they're gonna play differently. It was kind of hard to be on the same page, but we worked hard enough, and I think now we're on the same page on most of the things. We just tried this new ban line with giving them gambit, which we're not so sure about it. I think it's good. It's just there's so many matchups that we haven't played yet, so we need to learn about the matchups more. It's kind of the first time that we're playing as this character. He's been permabanned since like the beginning of the game. So yeah, we're just learning the matchup one by one. But I think this lineup, this ban line was really good. We just picked the wrong character at some point, but once we locked the good character into the draft, it was pretty easy.
Easy, says Enzo. So our final question once again is new roster here coming on in, same anchor as we started with, but with all these new players, with a new organization behind you. What do you have to say for the fans out there who saw that performance and really want to get on board?
I mean, I hope they enjoyed the show, and it's only the beginning, We're gonna go like even crazier next time.
That is a promise that I am excited to see you keep. Thank you very much for joining us, Enzo. We'll let you get back to your team and celebrate and prepare for the rest of the week's games.
Thank you guys for having me, and see you tomorrow.
We are very excited to see Enzo tomorrow. Always a delight talking to Enzo and just the majority of
That's
the
the
players.
funniest part, though. They're not playing tomorrow. It's the day off. So,
no.
so I don't know what he's going to do. He's just like, yeah, I'll be here. I was like, I'm pretty sure you're not playing, but yeah, like, I'd love to just throw him on the broadcast, honestly, if he can keep like his mouth clean, I suppose.
Oh boy. Well, what an incredible series of games. What some incredible players who we've interviewed as well. I'll reiterate it quickly before we just go a bit further down into the breakdown of the day. If you enjoyed these, then play the game, unlock those sprays, and if you really enjoyed Heretics or Navi or VP in particular, you can buy a skin to support the teams in game. So if you liked it, if you want to support the teams, then that's a great way to do it. Also, of course, follow the teams on their socials so that you can support them directly along with the players. So, what a day of games we have had together, team. We've already talked about what our favorites are, so we're going to start to look ahead to the future. We have tomorrow's games coming up. Well, I'm sure we'll get a list in not a moment from production, but what are we looking forward to?
Ooh, I mean, there's teams that we haven't seen yet play, actually, which is going to be like Fire Red going up against Rad. And I think Rad, again, an underlooked team. And Fire Red, I've written them off a little bit, but I'm like excited to see what they do in like a round robin tournament like this. They are like, again, two teams that can show a lot of promise, depending on how that first matchup goes.
I mean, I agree. I really want to see like what Rad are going to be looking like. I have them as a second in my predictions coming on from the side of Group B. So expectations for me pretty high at least, but a lot of the pedigree is still there from the previous Ignite stages. Plus, players very familiar with dive concepts as well already is going to go a very long way in adapting how to play this current meta, which, as we said, like all of these players are saying, meta is still stabilizing, ban draft is still being worked out, and we're actually getting to see those evolutions in real time through each of these maps. So I would expect it's still going to be a lot of ideas being stuck to walls to see what works, what does not, and what gets thrown out entirely.
We already mentioned those are two teams that have not played yet. We can also mention those some teams that have played, two currently undefeated teams. Match number 2 tomorrow will be Navi versus Shikigami. And that, quite frankly, could, in theory, decide that group.
I mean, at the very least, it's the biggest amount of pressure that Navi's going to get this week, because I don't think they play Heretics until next week either. So it's a real good like showing of like where this Navi team is at with Terra, and seeing how they just perform under stress, because I think Shikigami are going to give them a game, but knowing both teams, they respect each other, they're going to be very prepared, at least as good as they can.
And then of course we move on, we're going to have two of our Middle East teams play against each other. Vision versus Crownfall will be another very exciting one. Both teams have impressed us. While Vision came away with a win and Crownfall didn't, there were some moments where we did see a lot of potential behind Crownfall. So that could be a very important match for that placing and potentially getting into the playoffs. Moxie, that is an exciting one, but these teams have so much history together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any potentially about it, right? Since Crownfall took a loss against Virtus Pro and Vision took a win, if Vision are able to come up with 2 wins in the first 2 days, they have a much better chance of being able to make it through into these group stages. And Crownfall would be looking at having to pull wins against some teams, which would be like maybe Rad and potentially Strays as well. So very important matchup, which, like you said, is for sure going to impact who makes it out of Group B for EMEA.
You mentioned those results. You can see them here. Vision taking the 2-0 versus Reason. And Crownfall, we can't give them too much grief. The world champions taking them out in a 2-0 in the first game. Tomorrow is going to be a pretty big moment for two of our teams in particular. It is going to be Alta Esports and, of course, Crownfall, where they'll get their chance to play against not former world champions. You can see in terms of Group A, we have Navi, Heretics, and Shikigami sitting at a point each as they've taken their 2-0s and been able to get themselves on the board. Pulsar, Peps, and Alta looking to make their mark. Whereas in Group B, it is going to be VP and Vision sitting at the top, with Reason and Crownfall at the bottom as they've not been able to take a win yet, with Fire, Strays, and Rad still waiting to play.
V is for victory, I guess. Maybe it's like, yeah, Virtus Pro, sure. Vision winning 1-0, like you mentioned, Fire, Rad yet to play. But it really goes to show, like, Group B, who's going to be qualifying is going to be a rough one. And yeah, like, upcoming matches, we sort of mentioned, like, we get to see those two teams in action tomorrow. Vision versus Crownfall should be really fun. But, like, Pulsar versus Alter Esports, it's like, who's got the better chance of qualifying for playoffs? The loser of that going 0-2 this week, rough start.
Very true. A rough start indeed. And speaking of a rough start, Reason coming off 0-2 in their first matchup now have to face the gauntlet. It is their turn to play against Virtus Pro. Rough start for them, but we did mention Cramfall had some moments where they looked solid. Reason had some moments where they looked solid. This could be their chance to try and make something happen. But overall, it's going to be an exciting day of games tomorrow. We have some incredible matches for you, so make sure you tune back in. If you're watching on Twitch, make sure you ring that, turn on notifications. I don't know what the notification icon is over there. There's a lot of options for you to go on in. Speaking of options, though, it's time for style. It's time to head on in and look at what we have available. The daring duo, Cloak and Dagger. I love that we're getting a little bit of this Thieves Guild style skins coming on in for our teams. It is always fun to see the most dangerous duo in the galaxy. A powerful artifact, while New York descends into chaos, has emerged. It is coveted by kings, thieves, Black Hat confirmed, and forces moving in the shadows. This tablet of life and time has become the key to reshaping fate itself, and everyone wants it, including these two, Cloak and Dagger, looking to try and acquire it for themselves in yet another banger skin.
Speaking about yet another, we've got another amazing mini pass coming through. This time it's flight mode. Attention all passengers, the flight mode World Tour Merch Volume 2 will begin shortly. The funk don't stop. Feel the grooves and buckle up for a wild ride. Complete your daily missions and you'll earn Nemo's Sea Samba costume for free, or if you want, you can actually pick a previous miniature pass from the roster of available costumes. Upgrading to premium also unlocks access permanently, so you will not be beholden to the time cap on the pass, and you'll be able to get your hands on Star-Lord's Groovy Guardian and Magic's Infernal Idol, which I think we're all in agreement, like, it is one of the best Magic costumes that they've released to date.
I'd say so. I'd also say go long, because this Captain America is feasting right now. I think we saw like the night one recently as well for MRC, but the Brett Hendricks style one, seeing the little clips in between the breaks to show like the yards and stuff, like him slamming down, and considering Captain America is looking pretty good right now meta wise and very robust, good chance to pick it up. For all of the skins, I believe they all came out yesterday at like 9 a.m, so you've got a fair few weeks to have a look in game to get them if you want. But a good showing, an eclectic mix, and it's whether they sort of play through the bingo game that we like to play. It's like whether we see all of the skins that we've just highlighted in the same tournament, because sometimes a character's just not meta. Here, you've got actually a good mix of characters that are all in play.
Yeah, quite frankly, there is a real world where we could see all of those skins, every single one, in one game. It is absolutely possible. So we'll keep an eye out for that, as these teams will be repping their own stylish choices as well. Expect to see some jerseys coming on in particular for the Deadpools. We've talked about it, but make sure to support your teams as we go through. But speaking of coming through, we have come through all the way through 5 series, some incredible games, some incredible plays, but we are at the end of our broadcast for the day. I hope you have all enjoyed yourself. Let's get a final thought about what's coming up tomorrow, starting with Moxie. What are you looking forward to the most?
Evolution of Band Draft, you know me. I love getting to see the Band Draft. I cannot wait to see if teams prioritize Vanguard Deadpool over Elsa Bloodstone. That's going to be the biggest question heading into the start of the day.
And Ryan, what has got you all ready for tomorrow's games?
I think, just echoing what Enzo was saying, the learn by doing, the Vamos approach from Team Heretics themselves, whether that continues on. Not for them, it's their day off. Don't tell Enzo, it'd be funny if he decides to try and show up to scrims. But it is just like these teams learning by doing, adjusting to the meta as they find it, and just seeing if there's something that they might have all missed.
And what I am most excited about for tomorrow is seeing you all back here as we continue our preseason for Ignite here in EMEA. Make sure to stay tuned and keep an eye on this stream and in-game so that you can see when the games are happening. There's literally a schedule in-game now. You have no excuse to miss the best games. So make sure you tune back in when those are coming up and join us for more games tomorrow. For now, though, thank you all very much for watching. Make sure to ignite the battle, and we will see you all tomorrow.